All right. So this webinar is brought to you by Phoenix Business Consulting. We are an SAP Gold partner, an AWS partner as well, but most importantly, we are an SAP Concur implementation partner. We've been in business for over 25 years. We have over 150 customers in over the years, and 30 plus active AMS support engagement. What this means is that a lot of people trust us to make sure that their systems are maintained and working properly. We have 150 over consultants with both functional and technical proficiency. So far, we started with the public sector as our focus, but now we have commercial enterprises as well. In the public sector, a lot of people look for referenceable projects. We have 200 plus referenceable projects in this space. And one of the things that we'd like to highlight and we're proud of is that we are a full service implementation partner. What this means is that we can help deliver SAP S/4HANA, as well, of course, as ECC, and we can also integrate with all in-house SAP success factors, SAP Ariba, and of course, SAP SuccessFactors. I'm your host for today. My name is JL Diaz, and I am joined by three of my esteemed guests, which is Becky, Padma, and Sharath. I've been doing SAP for over 25 years with about 15 years in the public sector. I'm a certified SAP Concur expense and invoice consultant, and I've been doing functional implementation, project management, product development, account management, and now I'm a client partner, which means that I'm passionate about the success of our clients in any implementation and production support that we are doing for them. And the lead of our practice is Becky Nelson. Hi, Becky.
Hello, JL. Thank you for that introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Becky Nelson, and I help lead the SAP Concur practice at Phoenix Business Consultant. I've been doing Concur implementations for over 20 years. Both in commercial and public sector experience, and I have global implementations under my belt. I have a master's degree in business administration and experience in enterprise implementations, production support, and account management. My passion is helping our clients with process improvement using SAP Concur. When I have a big implementation project like this, I like to get familiar with their current state processes as well as the pain points that they're experiencing with those processes and help provide guidance of ways they might consider doing other things using SAP Concur. Now I'd like to introduce my colleague, Padma.
Thanks, Becky. Thanks, JL. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Padma Pendiala. I am a director of SAP Technology Practice at Phoenix Business Consulting. I have over 20 plus years of experience implementing SAP for various public and commercial clients. I am responsible for technology delivery, architecting solutions, and project management. I have my master's degree in computer application. Coming to my passion, I have been always passionate about technology, and how it has helped me is it has helped me to architect efficient solutions and innovations for the customer business needs, resulting in customer success. Thank you, everyone, and a very warm welcome for today's webinar.
All right, Sharat.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks. Hello, all. Good morning, good evening. Phoenix Business Consulting, predominantly responsible for technology delivery. I have over 15 plus years of experience with exponents, primarily well-versed in the area of SAP system integrations, SAP product customizations, and innovations. Once again, welcome to all attendees for interaction. Over to you, Jill.
Thank you, Sharat. Yes, hold on. Yes, so we'll start kick off with the public sector case study. Over to you, Becky.
Very good. Thank you, JL. Our case study was a public sector organization that had a budget over $1 billion with 60,000 employees. So it was quite a large organization, and they had some specific needs that they needed our assistance with. The Concur modules in scope were Concur expense, request, travel, and in addition, they were implementing a new bank card program with 3 different company business cards that would function with their Concur deployment. The timeline of this project was 9+ months. As you can imagine, an organization this size had a multiple wave rollouts for their different regions that were in scope. The system landscape included SAP ECC, and within that, we touched on finance, funds management, grants management, HCM payroll, and the travel management module. Unique to this client was their employees had concurrent employment, so they might have a default cost center for their main job, but may take on other roles and responsibility that were different cost centers. So we needed to help them determine a way to capture all these different job assignments, if you will. Next slide, please. Just to give an overview, we wanted to cover SAP Concur request. What exactly is request? The request module in Concur is a way for users to obtain pre-approval for expenses. For example, travel expenses. In a trip, you may have airfare, car rental, hotel, etc. And there may be other unexpected expenses like meals, seminar fees, and that type of thing. In addition, for those clients that have cash advance processes, request is also a way for users to request that cash advance. Our client did not have that functionality, but request can be used for features such as that. Within the request module, the configuration allows for the certain items to be set up as segments. This allows easy integration with the Concur travel module, as it will recognize those segments and pull them up in the booking tool to book typically air, hotel, and car rentals while those are being purchased for their trip. And it also allows for other expenses to be captured on that request so that the full cost or estimates of that full cost can be associated. Requests can also be used to obtain pre-approval for other business spend, subscriptions, business meals, office equipment, those types of things. So it's a very versatile module within Concur. The request module allows companies to have a good handle on their travel and expense spend by getting pre-approvals and being able to see where they're best able to spend their travel dollar. Next slide, please. The next module we worked with was SAP Concur Expense. And expense is a way that users can capture the actual spend for the travel. So they've gone and done their pre-trip approval for as the estimate spend. Now is the time that they can put through an expense report to capture the actual spend of what that trip cost the organization. So it allows for users to capture imported card transactions. So there's a lot of less work for them to have to build this expense report. They're imported in and become part of the expense report. These transactions vary from T&E or also purchasing card if it's available in the client site. In addition, within expense, it can capture all the information from the request. But once that travel module has been used, it will also capture the travel itinerary and if there's any e-receipts that were available from the merchants, those also flow down into expense. So as you can see, it's fully integrated, pre-approval at the request end, capturing some information during the travel module, and then coming finally to Concur expense where they're capturing that actual spend. In addition, users are able to include their out-of-pocket transactions to request reimbursement for those expenses as well. Well, Phoenix Business wasn't part of developing the travel module for this client. We did collaborate with the company's travel management company as well as the Concur travel implementation team to make this a fully integrated system for our client. Next slide. Now I'm going to turn it over to Padma.
Thanks, Becky. So now we will go ahead and talk about the problem statement. Before I proceed and elaborate on what was exactly the problem or the challenge that we were having, let me give you a quick background about the client. Before the customer decided to move forward with the robust SAP Concur solution, they were using SAP ECC Travel Management as their travel solution. Now, as part of their existing travel solution, apart from booking their trips and other things, there are certain other validations that were part of it, were implemented within standard SAP, like something called a budget validation. Now, what exactly the budget validation does is it goes and checks, hey, do I have enough money, enough budget in for booking in this request or expense? Similarly, it also does a capability for an account string validations, something like which validates if this fund and a grant is a valid combination or not. Or am I supposed to use this specific fund for this cost center? So these were the additional validations which were as part of their existing solution that they were using. And it was very easy to implement it within SAP ECCs because all this information that we have been talking about is within their central system, SAP ECC. So it was more like a validation with the existing data which is within the system. Now, going forward, elaborating the problem, what we were facing is while they wanted to implement the Concur being their travels and expense management solution, they did not want to forego with their existing validations or existing checks. While they use this solution, they definitely want to continue to use their as-is solution, which was there in ECC, because that was the customer being a public sector, those were their prerequisite, if I may say, that in order to meet any of their travel needs. Now, does Concur has capability to do validations? And yes, there is something called SAP Concur audit rules in order to perform different validations. Now, in order for a Concur to do them, we would need to have all the data that is needed for this validation in the SAP Concur system. Now imagine the amount of data that we will have to move from existing ECC system into Concur, which is going to make this whole process so cumbersome and so complex, and data integrity can be an issue because here we are talking about money, which is budget validations. And this being a transactional data, like changes every minute, and keeping everything intact could be a huge problem. And that's exactly when Phoenix as a team has decided to come up with a custom integration solution to meet this requirement. Next slide, please. Moving forward, a little more on how the customer has given us our business requirements is, of course, like I mentioned earlier, any travel request need to have all the validations that they were existing in the existing ECC solution. And that holds true not only just for request, but they also wanted it to be on their expense. Why we would need additional validations on expense? Because if at all a request travel expense has been created from a request, it is same, but they also want to ensure that the expenses booked are also budget validated for an overspend or an underspend that have been captured as part of it. Obviously, any kind of data exchanges that we talk for, the expectation is always a real time or a near real time. And being a public sector client, whenever there was a successful budget validation done, and this includes the account string validations or any kind of custom validations which were available in ECC, if they are completed or successfully through without any error, they wanted us to create an SAP funds reservation document, which is a pre-commitment document. Now, as we were moving towards implementing travel and expense in Concur, we always have to have that information that has been created in ECC in Concur so that the reconciliation will be easier. So all the document or reservation information, at least that has been created as in ECC, had to be sent back to SAP Concur. And once this information goes into SAP Concur, it will go through its own cycle of approvals before it goes to a FI, which is like a GL posting and payload integration. GL posting or GL integrations or payroll postings are part of the standard solution, but with all these additional validations that we brought in or the customer was expecting us to bring into the solution, they wanted us to ensure that this is working intact. So this is a quick overview of the requirements that we got in from the client for which we have developed a custom solution. Moving on. Okay, so let me give you a quick overview of the integration that we have built for this. So the integration or the solution that we have developed is the proprietary tool designed by the Phoenix team, which works seamlessly between SAP Concur and SAP ECC as well as SAP S/4HANA. When we talk about data exchange, one factor that always comes into the picture is there is a need for a middleware. And we have leveraged SAP BTP Integration Suite, which is SAP Business Technology Platform Integration Suite, as a middleware. And we do call it as a cloud middleware. And why did we go towards cloud middleware? As we all know, most of our technology is moving towards cloud, and to be in line with the latest and the greatest innovations in the technology space, we have ensured that we leverage the cloud's technology in this area. In order for data transfer from the source to target or from Concur to SAP ECC, there is a need for a different kind of services that is required. For us, SAP Concur does deliver something called REST application programming interfaces, which is REST APIs, which helps us to read and update information between SAP Concur through Integration Suite. Similarly, the read and update information from Integration Suite to SAP ECC, we have developed some custom web services. Last but not the least is the beauty of this entire solution that we have developed is the as-is solution, the as-is validations that have been in the existing system have been leveraged to such an extent that each can be easily auto-remediated. Now, let me elaborate what that exactly means. Whenever today, for example, customer has implemented 2 validations or 3 validations for a budget check or account string, and tomorrow they decide to add in the ECC an additional validation. So in such cases, the existing integration does work seamlessly and gets incorporated with the new validations. So that is the beauty of it. It incorporates the standard solution within it. Moving on, Jill. Now that you all have a quick overview or a summary of the things that we have deployed as part of this solution, let me hand over to Sharat, who is going to elaborate on the process flow for the entire integration. Over to you, Sharat.
Thank you, Padma. So here we would be looking at how Phoenix has approached to resolve this problem for the customer. So overall, at a high level, you are seeing 3 components as part of the solution proposed. One, SAP Concur, where it's being used by the users to submit their travel request or the expenses. Second is the integration suite as part of the SAP BTP service from SAP. And then SAP Business Suite, which is the central financial system for the customer. This whole integration has been modeled on something what we call as event or a status-driven architecture when we speak in terms of the integration patterns. So what is a status or an event-driven architecture? So in this, the prerequisite is any document that needs to be transmitted to an external system is being put into a specific status, which indicates that this document is now ready to be processed as part of an external system. So as part of this solution, a interim status has been configured in SAP Concur, which is known as pending external validation. So that implies any travel request or an expense being created is put into the status of pending external validation. The role of integration suite is to act as a listener for any status or events being transmitted from Concur. So any travel document in this particular status, which is pending external validation, gets picked up by the integration suite on the SAP BTP, which is acting as the cloud middleware, forwards the travel document to SAP Business Suite, which is the financial system in this design. In SAP Business Suite, any incoming travel document is subjected to budget validation. And when we say budget validation here, as one of our colleagues previously mentioned, we are leveraging the existing enhancements or customizations or any FI validations that are being existing and being used by the customer as part of this design. So what we have done is the communication between SAP Concur and SAP Integration Suite happens on the REST-based web services or APIs, as we call it. And the communication between SAP BTP and SAP Business Suite uses a custom web services that were created as a wrapper for the existing validations in SAP Business Suite. And as we know, any validation would result in two outcomes, which is being a success case or a failure case. In case of a successful budget validation, it goes forward and creates a funds reservation document, or as we call it, a pre-commitment document in the SAP terminology. Once there is a successful creation of funds reservation, the budget is earmarked for the travel request or the expense, and the corresponding status is updated back to Concur. Likewise, if there is a budget validation failure, and it could be for any reasons in the financial system, even that is being conveyed back to Concur. And in either of the cases, this response back is again processed through Integration Suite further to SAP Concur. So the read or the updates to SAP Concur are being done through the standard public API endpoints that are delivered as part of SAP Concur product ecosystem. Can you go to the next slide, Jill? So here we have just given more high-level information in terms of the public endpoints that we get to use as part of the Concur product product ecosystem. So there are endpoints available to read the amount of information that is needed from a travel request or an expense and take forward that information to the SAP financial system to process the budget validation. And corresponding, the response from the SAP financial system is conveyed back again through usage of the same standard API endpoints as part of Concur. And this whole interaction is going to be seamless and near real time. So this whole integration runs like for every 60 seconds, where it gets to pick up any travel request or an expense document that's in the status for budget validation is pushed to SAP financial system. The validation happens and the response goes back to Concur. You can move on, JL.
Thank you, Sharath. So in summary, Phoenix Business Consulting developed a solution that is custom made to make sure that SAP Concur expense and request integrates with funds and grants management. Well, we provided near real-time integration for budget check and funds reservation. So this is about 60 seconds for the check to happen. But our solution does not only do the budget check, we also incorporated the native validation checks in ECC. So that is something I like to highlight. For other funds and grants management integration, they just do budget check and funds reservation. But what we did here is also make sure that the validation is within ECC is honored and incorporated with our solution. And lastly, we also incorporated any workflow integration within ECC and of course within Concur. But the integration with the workflow within ECC is also something that is novel and special about the solution that we're offering today. All right. We are now open and ready for your questions. Okay, it looks like we have one question here. Question is, what are the license requirements for this solution? Okay, so good question. Okay, let me answer this by saying, as far as Concur side is concerned, what is important is that the client will subscribe to web services from Concur. Aside from that, we also need to have a license from SAP called the SAP BTP Integration Suite. So you need to coordinate with your industry account executive to get that license. And as far as the licensing of our required or the licensing of our solution, the action plan is to get this certified in Q1 of 2024 so that this is going to be available in the SAP App Store. But as of today, this is deployed directly from us. If in the process of planning an ECC to S4 upgrade, would you suggest working Concur into that initial deployment or as a separate project? It really depends. It really depends on what what is your priority. But implementing Concur can be done independently, and that can be done before your S4 upgrade. But this solution can be implemented for ECC and S4HANA. Becky, do you want to add any more to that comment? Do you want to answer?
I was just going to say that implementing SAP Concur early can be a quick win for your implementation. You're able to get it up and running fairly quickly as opposed to S4. And so you can have the cost savings in place for using that tool. The downside of doing that is there could be some rework on your integration. So we would probably set up as close to what we're going to need in S4 as far as your SAP hierarchy and some of those items. But then you're connecting to a different ERP initially, and there would need to be some changes and regression testing for that. So kind of pros and cons, but I do see doing Concur early as a quick win for your organization.
Oh, thank you, Becky. Okay, any other question? Going once, going twice. And having said that, thank you very much for joining us this morning or this afternoon. And we hope to see you in the next webinar. Thank you. And